In the heart of Rajasthan, nestled between the barren hills of the Aravalli Range, lies an ancient ruin that has earned the notorious title of India's most haunted place, Bhangarh Fort. Enveloped in myths, legends, and whispers of a deadly curse, the fort is a magnet for thrill seekers, historians, and paranormal investigators from around the world. But beyond the tourist buzz lies a chilling past, one soaked in betrayal, black magic, and a kingdom lost to the shadows. In this episode of Truth Be Told, we venture deep into the ruins of Bhangarh to uncover its tragic history, the terrifying folklore that surrounds it, and the unexplained events that continue to mystify all who dare to enter. Bhangarh Fort was built in the 17th century by Raja Madho Singh, the younger brother of the more famous Man Singh, a general of the Mughal Emperor Akbar. According to official records, the fort was established in 1573, and for a time, it flourished as a bustling city-state. The complex included temples, markets, palaces, and havelis, all signs of a prosperous Rajput stronghold. Strategically situated on the border of the Sariska Tiger Reserve in the Alwar district, Bhangarh was designed to be both a residential city and a defense post. The walls of the fort stretch over a large area and were once home to more than 10,000 people. However, unlike most historical cities, Bhangarh's tale ends in sudden silence. By the 18th century, it was completely abandoned. No wars are recorded in its downfall. No pandemics, no droughts, just a kingdom that vanished. That eerie disappearance is where the legend begins. Among the many tales that have tried to explain the downfall of Bhangarh, one stands out, gripping and tragic. According to local folklore, the city was cursed by a tantric, or a black magician, named Scindia. Scindia was infatuated with the beautiful Princess Ratnavati, known across kingdoms for her beauty and intellect. Determined to win her love, Scindia devised a dark spell. One day, Ratnavati sent her maid to the market to buy Etar, perfumed oil. The tantric saw this as his opportunity. He infused the oil with a dark spell designed to enslave her heart. But the princess, skilled in magic herself, saw through the trick. She threw the bottle onto a large boulder, which, under the influence of the dark spell, rolled towards Scindia and crushed him. As he lay dying, Scindia cursed the city of Bhangarh, vowing it would be reduced to dust, and no one would ever be able to live there in peace again. Not long after, war came to Bhangarh. The kingdom fell to an invasion, Ratnavati was reportedly killed, and the city was reduced to ruins, just as the curse foretold. Some versions of the legends say Ratnavati did not die immediately, but became a wandering spirit, seeking a way to lift the curse. Others claim she was never given a proper funeral, binding her soul to the very stones of Bhangarh. Today, the remains of Bhangarh stand eerily still. Stone temples half swallowed by time, narrow alleys that lead nowhere, archways etched with the beauty of another era, all silent witnesses to an unspeakable past. But it's not just the ruins that spook visitors. The Archaeological Survey of India has officially posted signs around the fort banning entry after sunset and before sunrise. In fact, Bhangarh is one of the few historical sites in India where such a warning is government-issued, fueling its reputation as a place of true supernatural terror. Those who have dared to defy this ban tell tales of horror. Strange voices, whispers from the wind, disembodied footsteps, and an overwhelming sense of being watched. Some visitors claim to have seen shadowy figures darting through the ruins, while others report intense nausea, dizziness, and hallucinations. In one particularly well-documented case, a group of young men stayed behind after dark to record paranormal footage. The next day, only one returned, severely injured, confused, and unable to recall what had happened. The rest had to be rescued, all suffering from psychological trauma. Indian culture is deeply rooted in spiritual beliefs and energy flows. According to many Vastu Shastra experts and yogic practitioners, Bhangarh is believed to lie on a geomagnetic fault line, making it a hotspot for spiritual activity. Locals claim the very soil of Bhangarh is cursed. No houses have rooftops. Attempts to build them end in mysterious collapses. Even temples, the most sacred of places, seem powerless to lift the dark veil that hangs over the site. Many believe that Ratnavati's spirit still wanders the palace ruins, searching for justice, while Scindia's vengeful energy corrupts the land. Together, their unresolved conflict traps both spirits and time in a loop of sorrow. Spiritual healers who have attempted to purify the fort say they've felt resistance, like the spirits don't want to leave. Some mediums report entering trances, speaking in languages they don't know, or drawing images of people they've never seen. In recent years, Bhangarh has become a pilgrimage of sorts for ghost hunters and supernatural enthusiasts. Paranormal research teams from India and abroad have set up night vision cameras, audio equipment, and electromagnetic field detectors within the ruins. One popular Indian paranormal investigation group, the Paranormal Society of India, conducted an overnight stay in Bhangarh with government permission. Their results were chilling. Sudden spikes in EMF readings, thermal anomalies, and an electronic voice phenomenon of a woman's voice crying for help. Foreign teams have also taken an interest. A British team from a show called Ghost Realms documented a night filled with strange lights and sudden battery drains on their devices. One investigator fainted and later described the sensation of being pushed into the earth. Countless tourists have shared their stories on social media. Phone batteries draining without reason. Dogs barking wildly at empty corners. Children crying inconsolably while passing certain temples. There's one chilling pattern in all these stories. No one leaves unaffected. Bhangarh Fort is more than stone and soil. It's a living legend, a place where time stands still, and the veil between the living and the dead is almost tangible. Whether cursed by black magic, haunted by lost souls, or simply misunderstood through centuries of folklore, one thing is certain: Bhangarh will never stop watching. Just a short distance from the romantic canals of Venice lies an island the locals refuse to talk about. To tourists, it might appear as nothing more than an overgrown patch of land in the Venetian lagoon. But to those who know the stories, Poveglia Island is something else entirely, a place of torment, tragedy, and terror. Shrouded in thick fog and silence, Poveglia is believed to be one of the most haunted places in the world. With a history rooted in death, from plague pits to insane asylums, the island is soaked in sorrow. For centuries, it has stood abandoned, cursed by a legacy so horrifying, even fishermen avoid sailing too close. In this episode, we explore the disturbing and deeply paranormal history of Poveglia Island, where the cries of the dead are said to echo across the waters. Poveglia's story begins like many other islands in the lagoon. It was once a thriving settlement, first mentioned in historical records around 421 AD. For centuries, it offered refuge from barbarian invasions. In the 9th century, it became a small but vibrant community with its own government and economy. But the tides turned. After centuries of prosperity, Poveglia was caught in the crossfires of war. In 1379, Venice evacuated the island's residents as war with Genoa threatened its safety. It would never be inhabited in the same way again. What came next marked the beginning of Poveglia's transformation, from peaceful island to a portal of pain. During outbreaks of the Black Death in the 14th and 17th centuries, Venice needed isolated places to quarantine the sick and dying. Poveglia became the final stop for thousands of plague victims. They were shipped to the island en masse, often dumped in large pits, alive or dead. The dead were burned in great bonfires, the living left to suffer until death came. Some were dragged screaming from their houses and tossed onto plague boats, never to return. Historians estimate that over 160,000 bodies may have been disposed of on Poveglia. The soil itself is said to contain layers of human ash, making up a significant portion of the island's landmass. Farmers who once tried to grow crops on the island claimed that vegetables would not thrive, that the land had absorbed too much pain. Even now, the ground is said to occasionally yield human bones. In the early 20th century, Poveglia took on a new role, one even more disturbing. A psychiatric hospital was built on the island in 1922. By then, the stories of ghosts and suffering had already taken root, and the hospital became a place of further horror. Patients reported seeing tortured souls roaming the halls, hearing whispers, and feeling invisible hands grip them at night. Their accounts were dismissed as delusions. The hospital's chief doctor allegedly performed inhumane experiments on the patients, including crude lobotomies and brain surgeries using basic tools. He believed the island's haunted energy gave him power, or perhaps it drove him mad. According to legend, the doctor eventually began to experience the same visions and hauntings his patients described. He is said to have thrown himself from the bell tower, screaming that the ghosts had come for him. Even after the hospital was shut down in 1968, the stories didn't stop. Locals report hearing the bell tower ringing, despite the bell having been removed decades ago. Visitors describe overwhelming feelings of despair upon setting foot on the island. Paranormal investigators have captured chilling EVPs, including screams, moans, and eerie phrases in Italian, like "help me" and "we are not alone." Apparitions of plague victims have been seen wandering near the shore. A few brave souls who visited the hospital ruins have claimed to see shadows ducking around corners, doors slamming by themselves, and cold spots that seem to follow them. One couple who tried to camp overnight reported that they were awoken by dozens of voices whispering at once. They fled before sunrise. Though now officially closed to the public, Poveglia has been the subject of dozens of paranormal investigations. The Sci-Fi Channel's Ghost Hunters International team visited in 2009 and reported high EMF activity, shadow figures, and a sensation of being watched at all times. Other investigators have reported mysterious illnesses, equipment failure, and sudden emotional breakdowns while on the island. One psychic claimed the spirits on Poveglia were trapped in a loop of pain, repeating their last moments endlessly. Local Venetians treat the island with superstitious reverence. Fishermen refuse to dock or fish nearby, fearing they might pull up more than just sea creatures. There have even been failed attempts to redevelop the island. In 2014, an entrepreneur leased the land to turn it into a luxury hotel, but the plans were quietly scrapped, and the island was abandoned once more. Will Poveglia ever be reopened to the public? It remains uncertain. Italy has explored selling or leasing the island multiple times, but every plan has mysteriously failed. Activists have proposed turning it into a memorial or museum to honor its dead, but superstitions, and perhaps something else, continue to stall development. For now, the island slumbers, wrapped in mist and memories, whispering its stories to the wind. Poveglia Island is not just a haunted place. It is a monument to human suffering, a scar on the landscape of Europe, and perhaps a gateway to understanding the energy of trauma and fear. Would you visit? If you ever find yourself in Venice and a local warns you not to ask about Poveglia, listen closely, not just to the warning, but to what lies beneath it. Because sometimes, the silence is there to protect you. Thank you for listening to this episode of Truth Be Told. Don't forget to rate, subscribe, and share the show. And remember, the dead don't always rest in peace.